Out of the city dedicated to the eternal peace of God and of man, Vatican City, comes the voice of spiritual leadership to which Catholics of every race and nationality have looked for guidance for nearly 20 centuries. Today, as always, Pope Pius XII reiterates the Church's appeal for a social system which will put aside all those revolutionary theories which the Church considers subversive and which will base itself upon the Catholic ideals of order, progress, and justice established in the historic encyclicals of the present Pope's predecessors. The late Papal Secretary of State, Luigi Cardinal Maglione, watcher of the political activity of every country of the world, took special pride in the existence of one European country where a basic program for a Catholic order of peace and progress had been established. That country is the peaceful Republic of Portugal, which has fully respected the prime tenets of the Catholic ideal, incorporating into its constitution many of the principles of the great encyclicals. While by law, Portugal's 7.5 million people enjoy freedom of religion, the voice of the Roman Catholic Church, in the person of the primate Manuel Gonçalves Cardinal Serragera, is listened to with unfailing respect by his university classmate, Prime Minister Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, one-time candidate for the priesthood, who rescued Portugal from bankruptcy and in 1928 became its dictator. In the little town of Imiero, where this shrewd, retiring ascetic was born, still stands the house that was Salazar's birthplace, now regarded by the townspeople as a national landmark. But Salazar himself would ask to be remembered by the political structure he has built. A corporate state where elections are by limited suffrage and by a system of guild representation, not unlike that of the Italy of Mussolini's day. Portugal's government chose as its titular head an aging militarist, General Antonio Oscar de Fragoso Carmona, co-leader of the revolution, which in 1926 brought a new regime and eventually a new order to bankrupt Portugal and its poverty-stricken people. In Portugal, the basic unit of the state is the family. The right to vote is vested primarily in the head of the family. The individual exists socially and politically only as part of a group, as a member of his family, as a resident of his village, or according to the way he earns his living. From the #1 industry, the manufacture and export of the famous port wines, down to the smallest trade or craft, all the workers and owners in each given occupation are encompassed within a corporation, made up of employees' syndicates and employers' guilds. Fishermen and peasants, the two most numerous classes, are similarly organized, and the Portuguese corporate state, since its inception, has been faced with the pressing problem of the betterment of their conditions, for decades notoriously bad. Today, Portugal's laboring classes are guaranteed decent working conditions by law, but Salazar's new state emphasizes the dignity of labor rather than its material rewards. And though the standard of living has improved over the old days of grinding poverty, it is still low. But though modern conveniences are few, food is plentiful. For 33% of Portugal's land is cultivated, and her climate makes the growing of crops and the raising of livestock comparatively easy. Thus, Portugal's food prices skyrocketed in World War II, owing to the needs of the belligerent nations. For the true wealth of Portugal has always been in the products of her land. Out of her forest comes enough cork to make Portugal a major producer and exporter of cork throughout the world. But the urgent demands of World War II made themselves felt throughout peaceful Portugal. Swiftly developed were Portuguese mineral resources, most essential of which for armaments manufacture was tungsten. Ancient wolframite deposits were forced to yield 3 times the amount of tungsten mined in pre-war years. And today, this metal, used in electrical equipment and high-speed steels, plays an important part in the industries of a mechanized age. Through this wartime development, there came to the rural Portuguese a new and quick source of income. Whole villages left their homes to prospect for this precious metal and to work the surface deposits by primitive methods, while their cattle and fields stood neglected. Typical of Prime Minister Salazar's regime is his insistence that the national credit be maintained at any cost. Thus, throughout Europe's war and reconstruction period, Portugal has carried on an extensive program of public works, providing employment for many thousands. The moral and political precepts of the church and the state color the curriculum of Coimbra University, in which Salazar still holds the chair of political economy, which was his when he was called to Lisbon to become Portugal's leader. A center of Portuguese science and culture since the 13th century, the university was giving instruction in surgery as early as 1504. Today, to an intellectual elite of young Portuguese, it is a fountainhead of the philosophy behind the new order, a center of learning which gives no place to the liberal ideas which Salazar believes have debauched the modern world. But still at Coimbra there are young minds which refuse to conform. The new Portugal educates the mass of its people but little. Since 70% of the Portuguese were illiterate, the new schools founded were mainly kindergarten and primary. All children are being taught to take pride in their nation and its great past by such devices as a village reproducing in miniature Portugal's historic buildings. Every Portuguese is made to feel that in the new state, he can be as proud of his nationality as his ancestors were in the days of wealth and grandeur. Today, none forgets the story of Vasco da Gama's feats as an explorer, or the legend of a Portugal so powerful that a Pope of Rome divided the whole unknown world with one lordly line between Portugal and its rival Spain. The new Portugal has no imperialist dreams of regaining its dominant position as a maritime power or of restoring its ancient empire. For its possessions in Africa and Asia, its islands in the South Pacific and North Atlantic, still form an empire 20 times bigger than the mother country, making Portugal 8th in size among the nations of the world. Lisbon, Portugal's capital, is one of the great cities of Europe, keeping the old tradition of unhurried living. Newspapers from every major country of Europe, except Russia, keep Lisbon's polyglot population in touch with its neighbors. Along with the rich upper classes of Portugal, foreign diplomats and travelers may loaf along the sunny shore of Estoril, or join the crowds in the gay life of Lisbon, where modern tunes and dances mingle with colorful Portuguese folk songs. Playing no small part in this nightlife is the flourishing interest in opera and ballet. But the keystone of Portugal's peace and prosperity remains her adherence to the program of social and economic policy laid down by the Roman Catholic Church and carried out by men who believe it is divinely guided. And it is with no lack of sincerity that the Portuguese render homage to that faith which has sustained them through many years of political unrest and through the trying times when the rest of mankind was engaged in its desperate struggle for freedom. For in her own modest quest for security and internal peace, Portugal has regained, if not the grandeur, at least the dignity of her medieval past.